at a time that's convenient for you. So if you go to the next slide. Just a quick brief update in regards to our Minority Community Response Fund. At our last call, we mentioned that there were several new applications that we received at once, and we were trying to do some fundraising so that we wouldn't have to turn away or deny applications. And so our program committee met yesterday, was it Monday? Met earlier this week, I'll say, to review the application and sort of come up with a game plan for how we would respond and process those applications. We do continue to receive additional applications daily. And so I just want to reiterate that we are actively fundraising to help meet those needs. Again, this is a specific fund for minorities who are experiencing hardship related to COVID-19. Either they've lost their jobs or they've had to take on additional responsibilities or experience a reduction in hours at their job, whatever, or have gotten sick, right? So whatever their situation may be, we really want to just stand sort of in the midst of their situation and provide some temporary relief so that they can, you know, buy food for the week for their household or pay a bill or something. It's not meant to be a sustaining thing because we are limited in our ability to support, but we want to at least acknowledge their hardship and provide some relief as they await other forms of assistance. So if you're able, if you could text the keyword COVID fund to 44321, that will allow you to either donate or fundraise on behalf of that program. If you go to the next slide, please. And so we have two guest speakers today. The first speaker is from the Detroit Health Department, Rebecca. She's just going to spend a few moments just reminding us about COVID-19 and things that we need to do to remain safe. I know that a lot of the media narrative has shifted away from COVID-19 to some degree. And so we want to just continue to remind you all that COVID-19 is still here and it is real, and we want to make sure that you're equipped with the information you need to stay safe. So Rebecca, if you could unmute yourself, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, wonderful. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for having me this evening. Again, my name is Rebecca Guzman, and I work at the Detroit Health Department. And I just wanted to reiterate that keeping Detroit residents healthy and safe is the #1 priority of the Detroit Health Department. And so, so I'm just going to share a little bit of the statistics. We still have some additional confirmed cases in Detroit, slightly over 11,000. There has been slightly over 1,400 confirmed deaths in Detroit as of today. And what this tells us is that although we're seeing a leveling off of new cases and deaths, that tells us that social distancing is working. So we need to maintain our social distancing practices and wearing masks in public, because this is the best thing that we as individuals can do to stop the spread of disease. Some other trends that we're seeing in Detroit is that of the people that are getting tested, it's more of a younger population now. They're young people in their 20s that are testing positive. And although their symptoms, they may be asymptomatic, which means that they're not displaying any symptoms, or they may have very mild symptoms. However, the risk is for more vulnerable populations, and that's older adults and people who have severe underlying medical conditions. And so as people move around and get about, it's important to get tested. And all Detroit residents and residents of Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb counties can get a free COVID-19 test at the state fairgrounds. All you have to do is call and make an appointment. And if you're a Detroit resident, you can also get free transportation to the testing site. The other important point is that entire families can get tested as long as everyone in the family has an appointment. So I'm going to share a number with you right now. It's 313-230-0505, and that's the number that you call to schedule an appointment for the test and transportation. And again, you must have an appointment to be seen. Otherwise, they will turn you away. And that number again is 313-230-0505. And the testing site is at the Joe Dumars Fieldhouse at the State Fairgrounds. And again, you can call, and the testing hours are Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. And right now, if you schedule an appointment tomorrow morning, you could be seen the following day. And then the last thing that I wanted to share with you is just a little bit information about contact tracing. And so that's a technique that public health workers do, which requires that staff interview people who've been diagnosed with the coronavirus to figure out who they may have recently been in contact with. So if you receive a call from the Detroit Health Department, please participate and share the information that will help them track down the disease and alert people who may have been exposed. I think that that's been a lot of information in a short amount of time. I will stay on the line to answer any questions if people need further information or additional resources. So thank you for your attention, and that's it for me right now.
Thank you so much for that. And I want to first open it up to anyone either on Facebook that's watching or who is on the Zoom call right now that have any questions for Rebecca. Please unmute yourself. If you're dialed in on your phone, you can press *6 to unmute yourself. While we're waiting for people to unmute themselves, Rebecca, I do have a question that has stemmed from conversations that I've seen people have within the community around contract tracing. There's a sort of stigma around it that it might be, or that people feel as though it's a violation of privacy. Is there anything that you have or can speak to in regards to privacy and the contract tracing sort of interview that might sort of debunk that?
Well, the way that the process works is that whoever is tested positive, the results are either sent to the state of Michigan or to the Detroit Health Department, and someone will be reaching out to everyone who has tested positive. Not only to alert them of their test results, but also to follow through with helping to trace back who else might be exposed to the virus. And so, yeah, there is a lot of controversy, and there are people who are concerned about their privacy. However, one of the processes is we do not divulge who gave the name or how they came about, other than that they were exposed to someone who had the virus. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yes, I think it does. Thank you for sharing that. I do have additional questions again. If anyone else on the call has any questions, I encourage you to unmute yourself. I can see when you unmute yourself, and I will stop talking to allow you to speak. But for the essence of time, I want to keep the conversation going. Rebecca, I have another question in regards to testing. Do you recommend that anyone get testing if they just, are curious about their status? And is there a sort of a limit or a regular amount of tests people should get such as should they be testing regularly or just one time, or what are your thoughts or guidance around testing?
That's a great question. And right now, the guidance is that everyone should get tested just to take a temperature of what is happening within the community, because we do know that there is community transmission right now, because people are unaware that they have the virus. And so it's important that you do get tested. Now, the frequency of the testing is really vague and up in the air. You can get tested as often as you want at the Joe Dumars Center. The recommendation is, if you are working and you are in close proximity and having a lot of face-to-face contact with people, depending on your role, or if you're in contact with people who are not practicing social distancing and or wearing a mask, the increased frequency is recommended. Having said that, you may test negative. If you test every week, the testing results may be skewed, and so the recommendation is at probably every other week if you are, again, exposed to frequently to people who are not practicing social distancing or wearing a mask, or state that they're ill and or have contracted the virus.
So I know that there are a lot of protests that are going on in regards to the movement for Black Lives and Black Lives Matter. And so would you recommend that, or would the health department recommend that people that are out protesting do anything special in regards to self-quarantining after they protest, or special measures while they're out protesting?
Really, practicing social distancing and wearing a mask is really the number one method to mitigate the spread of the virus. If you're in a large group and, again, you're surrounded by people who are not practicing social distancing and are not wearing a mask, and you're within 6 feet of each other, you can self-quarantine if you think that you've been exposed. But being tested regularly and practicing social distancing and wearing a mask, and obviously practicing good hygiene, washing up is what's recommended.
Thank you. And then I have one last question. And then I think, Nakia, I see you unmuted yourself. My question was in relation to a vaccine. Is there any, I know that there's like a mad push to get a vaccine so that we can all go back to some sort of normalcy. Is there any sort of updates in regards to vaccines or vaccines trials or medicines that are available for COVID-19 that the Detroit Health Department is aware of?
Currently, the CDC is not has not made any updates on that, and their recommendations for when a vaccine will be available is still several months away. The CDC is kind of shying away from giving an absolute date, and there's still too much to learn about medication and or a vaccine. So that's still one of the unknown factors.
Okay. Nakia, did you have a question?
I do have a question. So I have spoken with a couple people who are interviewing for new employment, and they are being asked to supply a clear COVID-19 test. Can you tell me how long it takes for them to receive their results?
Okay, that's a good question. At the Joe Dumars Fieldhouse, it can be anywhere. Well, right now the demand is fairly low, and so the return wait is anywhere from 2 to 5 days. Now, if they are newly hired, their employer and the employer is within the city limits of Detroit, they can call and get their employees tested, receive a rapid test. But they have to be registered or sent through their employer for the rapid test, which takes 20 minutes.
Oh, okay. That's good to know.
Okay, are there any other questions for Rebecca while we have her on the call? If not, Rebecca, do you have any contact information that you're able to share if people do have questions after this call?
I sure do. Let me pull that up real quick because I don't want to misdirect anyone. Oops. There we go. Where are we? Okay, so the Detroit Health Department has a 24-hour hotline, and that number is 313-876-4000. We also have an email address, which is dhdOutbreak@detroitmi.gov. And then the other one, if you're interested in more of the statistics and more fact sheets, more detailed information, you can go to www.detroitmi.gov/coronavirus. And that will have the latest updates, the latest numbers, trends by sex, age, what's happening with the nursing homes, particular populations, et cetera. So those are the primary numbers that I think would provide everyone with as much information as they need.
Thank you so much for this very valuable information. I hope that everyone on the call is able to share this with your families and friends and networks. Rebecca, you're more than welcome to stay on the call if you have time. But at this time, I'm going to turn it over to our President and Executive Director to introduce our next guest speaker. Thank you again, Rebecca.
Thank you for having me.
Hi, everyone. This is Nakia, and I am going to introduce our next guest speaker. I thought it would be a great idea to have a professional come on the call and speak to us about a lot of things that's really going on with each of us mentally. I wanted to ask her to come answer any questions and to speak with us just about our mental health. So I'm going to read her bio first. Jessica is on the call. Jessica Ross is a psychodynamically trained, nationally board certified licensed professional counselor. She specializes in sex therapy and trauma. She also has advanced training in psychology, forensics, investigation, and psychometrics. Her practice, JR Counseling, is in Sterling Heights, Michigan, which she specializes in using biopsychosocial approach to care. Through her work, she spends a lot of time engaging with the cultural aspects that influence people's experience and ability to seek treatment, which allows her to work effectively and improve clients' efficiency. Jessica's work also allows her to be a consultant for various programs in Michigan and private practices. So I'm gonna have Jessica unmute herself. She's a very good friend of mine, and we've known each other for years, and she is very thorough on helping everyone out. So Jessica?
Hi, can you all hear me?
Yes.
All right, hello. Thank you, Nakia, for inviting me. I am going to jump right in if that's okay. So in terms of just coping, honestly, right now, it's not just coping during COVID-19 and quarantine. It's coping during the rise of social justice, coping during the rise of grief and loss, coping during the rise of a disease process that has taken over a lot of people's lives. And so I'm just going to speak very briefly about, number one, some of the things that have been presented to me in terms of what fears are creating a lot of invasive, what is the word I'm looking for? Invasive symptoms for people. And then also then just kind of speak to things that I believe are helpful and things that I have seen just sort of really help people heal and come to a place of being able to move forward during a time that has created a lot of stress for many people. And so some of the things that have really presented hardships was initially sort of the shift in scheduling, being home all day, being with their children, homeschooling and working and managing that. And then on top of that, facing illness themselves or facing illness with a family member. And then that for a lot of people transitioned to grief and loss and not being able to give what they believe to be proper goodbyes to their loved ones or to be able to give goodbyes at all. For a lot of people, I'm also seeing fears of getting the virus if they haven't had it. So some people are not leaving their homes. If they are, they're leaving their homes in complete biohazard gear. I've seen a lot of people just with a fear of being alone or being forgotten. Loss of income has happened. Some people have gotten furloughed as recently as today. They might have worked the entire quarantine, but now they're not able to return to work. And then some people who are just experiencing just a loss of self. There's been a high rise of depression and anxiety, especially for people who don't normally clinically present that way. And so what that means is that they probably do okay in their everyday lives, but this is a stress that they've just really been unable to manage. And so in terms of how we cope with this, number one is it's new. We as a people have never had to cope with all of this happening at one time. And we've also not really faced something to this magnitude. And so I see it as really trying to find a good, healthy balance between autonomy and intimacy in your daily lives. And so what I mean by that is finding space for yourself, but also finding space to connect to others, whether that be family or friendships or even coworkers for some people. And so that requires a couple of really important things. Number one, what does taking time for yourself even look like? And I know a lot of people, including myself, sometimes don't have that appropriate balance to where we're giving 70% to work, 30% to our families, and we really have nothing left over for ourselves at the end of the day. And so I am urging everybody right now to really recalculate that and to look at what does it look like to create a healthier balance. And when I talk about self-care, I am more so talking, I'm not talking about the pedicures, the manicures, the haircuts, those kind of things, but simply sometimes washing your face at the end of a long day, or being able to put your feet up and take a deep inhale and exhale, taking a walk, or what it might look like to sit down and write down your thoughts. And so self-care comes in a couple of different ways. There's a couple of areas I think you need to target in terms of what does taking time for yourself look like. And quickly, I'll kind of go through those, and that would be taking care of your psychological self, your physical self, taking care of your personal world, your professional world, your financial world, your sexual self, your spiritual self, your emotional self, and really making sure that each one of those areas have good alignment in terms of what are you doing each day that helps you to really be one with yourself, be connected, and feel, what is the word I'm looking for? Feel calm, feel a sense of peace, and peace is going to look different for everybody, but that's a non-striving, more mindful, more aware space. The other thing is making space for emotions. And so a lot of times we are too busy to stop and experience our emotions. For a lot of people of color, that tends to be very true. That we hold on to so much that we're always okay, that we have a tendency to push past our limits, which is really harmful. And so with everything going on in the world in terms of, again, social justice, what we're seeing, and in terms of what's happening in people's specific communities and with COVID-19, really making space to say, I'm not okay, or I need time, I need to cry, I need to scream, I need to yell. I don't know what I need, but I just need to breathe or to just be left alone. And so I'm really making true space for feelings and emotions and taking the time to do that and allowing space for others. A lot of times we, have a tendency to tell people you're feeling too much or you're doing too much, or, don't cry about that. We have to be strong. We have to keep moving. No, we actually don't. We have to make time to feel those things so that they filter through our body, so that our body doesn't hold them, because believe you me, they will show up later. The body never lies. And so if you're holding on to a bunch of emotion, if you're not taking time for yourself, your body will demonstrate that. Lower back pain, neck pain. If you're one of those people that are always rubbing on your shoulders or rolling your neck around, or lower back, or constantly adjusting, your body is telling you sometimes that you're not taking time to de-stress, to release the things that you've been holding on. The third thing is connection and touch. We're humans. And as humans, we are meant to connect and touch others. Well, we're in a space where we can't really do that. And so I would encourage you to figure out, well, what does that look like in terms of your family, in terms of the people that are in your house, in terms of the people you do have access to? Make sure that you're getting the amount of touch that you need per day. And also for people who don't require a lot, that you're not over touching them. I work with a lot of first responders, a lot of medical providers, a lot of other nurses, doctors, that kind of thing. And so for them, when they get home, their touch meter has already been filled. They don't want to be touched anymore. They don't want to engage anymore, because they've given so much of themselves during this time. And so it's just really being mindful of how that plays a role. And for other people, they just want to be able to hug someone and hold their family. I have someone who hasn't seen their family since December, because the family lives out of town and now they can't travel. And this, and all they want to do is just be able to hug their parent. And so understanding the very importance of connection and touch. And I know a lot of people are using Zoom and Facebook and some of these other social platforms in order to connect, but these are important things. Texting, calling, seeing how anyone is, seeing how your friends are doing and reaching out. And it's not just for them, it's really for you to make sure that you are not getting buried in your own thoughts and in your own space. And then the other thing is acknowledge, recognize, and address. And so acknowledge means, hey, understand that something's happening. You may not know what, but you're feeling out of alignment. You're not feeling okay. That could be you're feeling emotional, you're feeling anxious, you're feeling shaky. You might have a headache, anything. But if your body's responding, it typically says you're not in homeostasis. So acknowledge that something's happening, and then recognize what is happening. So once you realize that something is happening, take the time to look at, well, what exactly is occurring? My back just started hurting. I'm feeling really overwhelmed. Work was really stressful today. I'm yelling at people, but I'm not angry. So what is going on with me? Let me take some time to figure out what that looks like. What didn't I get? What needs are not being met for myself? And then address it. So once you're able to identify it, do something about it. Do something with it. Don't just let it sit there. So allowing yourself space to calm. If you realize that you are frustrated and flustered and you're yelling at everybody, take a break, go outside, walk around, stretch your arms a little bit, do something that helps you calm down. And so what I would kind of wrap with is 8 things. You want to stay connected. You want to move around, be physical. You want to get some sleep. I know sometimes that can be hard for people, but getting rest is a huge part of depression and anxiety, and trying to keep balancing your body. Eat well, but eat. The serotonin that's in your gut is your second brain. You need that to stave off some of the depression, anxiety that is going to naturally occur. So please make sure you're not skipping meals. Limit your exposure to activating media. I know we all want to be very present in what's happening in the world. We are talking about it every day. We are talking about it at home, at work. It's on TV, it's on the radio. You turn on Netflix, you see it there. You cannot avoid seeing any of it. But I am going to encourage you to turn the TV off, turn the radio off, because what you're doing essentially is consistently re-traumatizing yourself. And that will eventually create problems down the line in terms of just post-traumatic responses. And so limit your exposure, limit how much you're activating yourself. It doesn't mean you can't be active. It just means you have to be aware of what happens when you are. Learn how to breathe. Breathing is a very important part of balancing an anxiety. Most of us don't take real good deep breaths. So I'm going to encourage you to learn how to do that. Yoga is a very good practice to help with that. Mindfulness is a very good practice that helps with that. So there's Calm, and there's iChill, and there's Headspace. And I know a lot of them are offering free memberships right now if you've lost your job. And so, and some of them are just offering free memberships in general right now. And they help you learn how to meditate, learn how to be mindful, learn how to breathe. But I'm going to encourage you to take deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth, breathe slow so that the body knows that you're not in a panic. Right now, we're all breathing so heavy and so short that our body is constantly responding as though it's in a panic. And so making sure that we slow down. The seventh thing would be mindful. So pay attention to what's happening to you. Don't go through your day absent. Many people, I'm experiencing a lot of dissociation where they're going through the motions of their day, but they're not present in their day. They couldn't tell me what somebody wore, let alone what stores they passed on the way home, or who they talked to in a day. So be mindful in your day and in your interactions that you're guarding yourself really well in terms of your mental health and those other areas that I mentioned. And the last one, if these things don't work for you, and even if they do and you find that you need more, seek help. There's community mental health in every county. The back of your insurance cards have 1-800 numbers that you can call or websites that you can go to find out providers in your area that accept your insurance. There's Psychology Today. There's, I think, blacktherapist.com. There's many ways to go and look for a provider. I'm a provider in Sterling Heights. I accept limited insurance, but I have a network of providers that I do work with in terms of helping people find the care that they need from a full approach. And so those are the things that I think are most important in terms of coping with any number of things that I listed in terms of the fears that I've been seeing, but also just kind of in general in your day-to-day. So I am going to slow down a bit there because that's a whole lot of information that I went through extremely quickly. And I'm just going to, if anyone has questions, or if Nakia, if you have something else planned, or if you have questions, just kind of jump in and let me know.
Thank you so much, Jessica. This is Taquayan. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to talking with you after the call to get to know a little bit more about you and what you're doing. Again, as Jessica mentioned, if you have any questions or thoughts about anything that she spoke about today, please unmute yourself. I just wanted to reiterate that a lot of what you were talking about speaks so closely to the issues we are experiencing as a community, as well as the things that we're seeing in our emergency assistance applications as people are explaining their situations to us. And you really, really shared some really helpful tips about how to take care of ourselves. We all hear this term self-care, and for women, most of us think, oh, that's getting your nails done or getting a massage, but what does that mean, right? And so you really provided some concrete examples of what that looks like in our daily lives that we can take with us. So I hope that you all did just that. I think that just reminding everyone that might be new on the call about our mission as an organization to improve the lives of minorities. And one of our tenets of our mission statement is promoting holistic wellness. And so when we think about mental health, that is a part of that. And so this is something that we really, really, really want to drive home to our community, and making sure that you all are taking care of yourselves mentally and taking care of your family's mental health as well. So if there are any people, again, on the call that have any comments, Nakia, I see that you unmuted yourself.
Yes, I did. I wanted to first thank you to Jessica. That was an amazing list. I just wanted to speak on two things. The first thing, when you said that we, I don't want to just change your words, but we become very busy instead of dealing with a lot. And I know as people of color, and especially as women of color, when we're physically sick or mentally sick, we still get the job done. Like, we don't stop. So that is one thing, including myself. I have to be conscious about stopping and taking care of myself physically and mentally, because the list doesn't stop. Like, we keep going. But I wanted to ask you a question, because I've been hearing and reading about so many things about taking care of ourselves. The one thing that I wanted to express was our children. Our kids are being impacted by everything that's going on. And I know that children are resilient. and we might not think that they are because they still play, but a lot of kids are processing this, or they're feeding off of our anxiety or our behavior, or a little bit of information that they're picking up. Just want to know if you have any advice. So for example, my 7-year-old doesn't sleep. Like, she hasn't slept in a long time unless I like let her sleep with me, or she finally falls asleep at like 4 in the morning. I thought it was just because of the pandemic, not being in school, until she starts saying things like, when is it going to be over? Is anyone else going to die? Like, her mind is running just like an adult's is running, because they're getting little bits and pieces of what's going on in their small little world.
Mm-hmm. So what I would say is we don't, as a lot of times as parents, we try to hide a lot of things from our children, and we only let them hear so much. We really meter and tailor what they're hearing. But the thing is, we're not the only people they're getting information from, and they take on more nonverbal information than they do verbal cues. They're watching us on the telephones. They're watching our reactions. They're watching our body movements. And so, typically what I tell parents and families is that you have to talk. You have to sit down and make time to talk about your real feelings as a parent. Someone said to me today that I had no idea that my parents were supposed to teach me how to be emotional. They were supposed to teach me how to express myself. No one ever told me that. And so I held things until I exploded, or I didn't sleep. And so part of that is understanding that you teach your children how to respond, and you teach them how to cope. You don't dismiss their feelings, you validate. And so when they're having that experience, it's, well, tell me what you're feeling. Well, let's talk about that a little bit more. What do you mean? And what are the feelings associated with that? And it's extremely important to separate feelings from beliefs. And so feelings are one-word answers. If it's more than one word, it is not a feeling. If it's more than one word, it is a belief that you're having in the moment, the story that you're telling yourself. And so it is very important to sit your children down and tell them how you're feeling. I'm scared. I'm overwhelmed. I am, concerned about this the same way you are. And here's what I'm doing to keep myself healthy. I'm talking about it. I decided to journal, or, I decided to listen to positive podcasts. And so for a 7-year-old, they do understand a lot. And so it would be, what do you think would help you? Would you like to start journaling and writing down your feelings? Would you like to talk about this a little bit more? Would you like to have regular conversations about your emotional experience, and not just the negative one? What are some of the good feelings you've experienced during this too? What are some of the things you've gained in this? And so number one is teaching them that it's okay to feel by showing them you have feelings about it too. And then allowing them to express their feelings, validating those feelings, and then helping them discover on their own tools that will be helpful for them.
Thank you so much for that. Those were some really good tips, especially the validation. Go ahead, Nakia. I'm sorry. I was just speaking in your
Oh, that's fine. I just said thank you. I had said it, but I was still muted.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments or thoughts? I see Montika in the comments. She really liked your comment about your gut being your second brain. I ditto that. That was some really insightful perspective to share. Are there any other comments for Jessica while we have her? If not, so in the essence of time, I did jump to our guest speakers before we were able to fully provide our progress updates as an organization. And I know that some people were very busy today. So
Taquanya, I'm sorry, really quickly.
Oh, go ahead.
Jessica, can you either say the name of your company and your contact information, or put it in the chat for those who might want to speak to you offline?
I will put it in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to do that, just so you know. But thank you for that. And we really appreciate you spending some time with us this afternoon, or this evening actually, and hope to be able to do more with you and partner with you in the future. And so I want at this time just to invite people in the in the Minority Freedom Community Fund organization that have any updates to share in regards to any activities that they have been engaged in or that relate to either COVID-19 or the Movement for Black Lives. If you could unmute yourselves and share with the community any updates that you have.
Hi, my name is Andrew Peoples. I'm a member of the Minority Freedom Community Fund, and I just would like to say to make sure that everybody's safe over quarantine. And today, me and Kayla participated in a mural for Detroit, and it was really nice, and I really enjoyed it. And it was just a way to prove that Black Lives Matter and our lives need to be heard. And yeah, that's about it.
Thank you so much, Ava. Kayla, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, like Ava said, it was really fun. There were news reporters, and so we actually got to get the message across.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for representing the Minority Freedom Community Fund out in your communities. I was so proud and excited to hear that, and I can't wait to see the unveiling of the mural that you all helped to create. Are there any other people in the organization or affiliated with the organization that have any updates to share before we open it up to our community Q&A portion? While you think about it, I do want to acknowledge that we continue to grow. I think each week we have new members, new volunteers and board members and advisory board members. And so we continue to be extremely grateful for everyone that volunteers their time and is participating and supporting our very optimistic mission. I don't see anyone unmuting themselves at the moment. So at this time, I would like to turn it over to community Q&A portion of the meeting. I know that there are some people on the call that have some news to share in relation to some things they are doing to try to support the community during this time, either services that you're offering, products, etc. So if you have any updates as a community member that you would like to share, please unmute yourself at this time and share those. Again, if you're on, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Sorry to clients.
That's okay. Hi, TT.
Yeah, sorry guys. Hi, I'm Jaquette Montgomery. Real quick, I started a tutoring service for kids kindergarten through third grade. I am from Chicago, but I am doing it virtually. So I have a link provided. I'm starting next week for the summer, and then I will continue it throughout when school starts. I am a teacher, and my goal is just to be able to help, of course, parents and students, because we all know through this pandemic and COVID, a lot of the instruction has been lost. And so I really wanted to be able to provide services, especially for our younger kids, because it's really challenging for early childhood education, you know, with reading and learning how to write and math. You know, these are key things, and it's better to have it in the school one-on-one, but I'm just wanted to start something and be able to help the community all around. So if anybody needs any assistance or needs any tutoring services, I'll be glad to put my link in the chat to help those who are in need. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaquette. And I did go ahead and put that link in the chat, but for those of you that are on the phone and not on the Zoom link, you can book tutoring services with her through her link that can be accessed at www.jamtime.simplybook.me. Again, that is jamtime.simplybook.me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm sorry, this is Nakia again. I just want to remind everyone that there are still places that are giving out food to the community. I know a lot of the applications that we are receiving, in some of the applications, people are saying that they are running out of money for food. I just want everyone to remember, for yourselves or anyone that you know, there is still a lot of food donations that are happening. I know the lines aren't as long as they used to be, but if you are in need or know someone who is in need, they're pretty much everywhere throughout Detroit and metropolitan Detroit. And if you need to help with any resources, feel free to contact us and we can let you know where those are that are closer to you.
Thank you, Nakia. That's a really good point. So if you are trying to get in contact with us, the easiest way to get in contact with us is to email or text us. Again, our email address is info@mifreedomcf.org, and our phone number is 810-377-5165, and you can text that number if you have a request for resources, either food or clothing or housing or whatever the case may be. We'll try to find resources that are near or relative to where you are geographically. While we wait for others to unmute, and I'm going to check to make sure there are no people unmuting at this time. I do have quite a few sort of resources to share. So as we know, this Friday is Juneteenth, and there are several Juneteenth celebrations happening. And so I just wanted to share a few that are on my radar that I wanted to make sure and promote within our organization. And so the Movement for Black Lives has their week of action that has sort of a list of national events that are celebrating Juneteenth. You can look online at those events if you go to map.619.com. It has a very robust list of various activities, webinars, and in-person events that are happening across the country. So I encourage you all to look at that. Again, that website is map.619.com, and that is sponsored by the Movement for Black Lives. The city of Detroit is having their Juneteenth celebration. They've been have a week-long celebration actually, but as we are in the middle of the week, I will just quickly remind you or inform you that tomorrow at 5 p.m. they will be having a talk about criminal justice reform, and Judge Mathis will be on that in that conversation, so that if you're a Judge Mathis fan like I am, you might be interested. These will be taking place on the City of Detroit's Facebook Live. There's also on the 19th at 9 a.m. Councilwoman Brenda Jones will be having a conversation on her Facebook page at 9 a.m. about criminal justice reform. And then also on Friday, there will be a freedom rally at the Spirit Plaza, which is the little plaza that they created right outside the Spirit of Detroit statue. That will be also hosted on Facebook Live. The Detroit NAACP will also be having a flash mob that will be promoting, in addition to celebrating Juneteenth, it will be promoting the census, and so that will be on June 19th. You can find out more by going to DetroitNAACP.org. There is also BEAM, so the Black Emotional and Mental Health Collective that we promote and are connected with. They have their meditations for Black Lives that will be this Friday beginning at 11 a.m. You can access that through their Instagram live page, which is accessible at _BEAM.org. So _BEAMORG, and that is their Instagram page, and that's how you can access their Instagram live to view that Meditations for Black Lives. I also want to inform you that one of our partners, U Melanin, which is a fashion brand celebrating melanin, is also celebrating Juneteenth this week. And so if you're interested in getting some clothing or apparel that celebrates people of color and melanin and Black people, you can go to umelanin.com. That is EUMELANIN.com. The NAACP is hosting a Black Family Reunion at 4 p.m. on Friday. You can access that event at the NAACP YouTube page. So if you go to youtube.com/NAACP, you can participate in our Black Family Reunion. The Black Young Professionals organization is also having a Juneteenth Jubilee this week. And so on Friday, beginning at 6:19 on their Instagram Live and on their Facebook page, they will be having an event to celebrate Juneteenth. You can access that on Instagram by going to Juneteenth Jubilee _ or I'm sorry, Juneteenth Jubilee _ Detroit, or you can just search Facebook for Juneteenth Jubilee Detroit to access that event. The Charles H. Wright Museum is also hosting an afterglow. So the Charles H. Wright Museum in Detroit is hosting an afterglow for the 21 and up crowd after 6 p.m. If you are interested in participating in that, you can contact Jatu Gray at 313-494-5870, or you can email jubileeblockparty@gmail.com. And you can view other events that the Wright Museum is hosting and putting on if you go to the Wright, so THEWRIGHT.org to view their events that they're having this weekend. I know that I shared a lot, so I'm going to pause for a moment just to see if anyone has any questions or any other resources in relation to Juneteenth that you would like to share. Just so you know, Kayla Thomas, our co-chair for the Youth Advisory Committee, did post a link from the Fox 2 Detroit that just shows the mural that she and Ava were participating in creating today. So you can go to the fox2detroit.com website to see that article. All right, if there are no other questions or items that anyone would like to share, I would like to go to the next slide so that we can wrap up this call. Just as a reminder, we are continuing to fundraise for our Minority Community Response Fund. And so if you text the keyword COVID Fund to 44321, you can donate or fundraise on our behalf. You can also Cash App us at MIFreedomCF, although we do strongly prefer that donations go through our Give Lively page. At this time, I would like to announce or to do our community raffle. And so again, this is just to acknowledge and thank you for participating in the calls. Each week, we truly appreciate you, and we just want to thank you by offering a token of our appreciation. So we have selected a winner for tonight. It is someone that is called in, and the last 4 digits of your phone number is 6802. If you could send us your cash tag name, if you have Cash App, to the number 810-377-5165. Alternatively, you can reach out to anyone who invited you to this call so that we can get that information. Thank you again for for joining us, and we truly appreciate you. I do want to continue to remind people that we will be having these calls every single week, every Wednesday. And so we encourage you to continue to come and spread the word. You can access either via Zoom or our Facebook Live page. And so we really thank you. And I'm going to pause for one more moment just to see if there are any closing comments or wrap up items that anyone on the call has to share before we end our call today. All right, if there are no other comments, thank you all again for the raffle winner. If you could reach out to the person that invited you so that we can give you your prize. Thank you all for attending, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Have a good evenings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.